Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Yeah, today's Saturday. That's what happens every Saturday. It becomes Saturday. I hope everybody is having an awesome weekend so far. It was a crazy week, but I made it through. And now it's the weekend. I can spend a lot of time in here and try to get some more stuff done. Let's see who we have in the chat this morning. Firsties was Patricia. She says, "Good morning, everyone." Secondies was Candace, who says, "Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday." Happy Saturday to you too, Candace. Good morning, Carl. Good morning, Julie. Good morning, Cynthia, who says, "Good morning, Russ and fellow chatters. How are we doing this sunny morning?" I'm doing wonderful. Thank you, Cynthia. It is a gorgeous day out here. I've been running around already this morning. And I even got to meet my new neighbors, or a portion of my new neighbors yesterday. They were outside for a few minutes. The guy, but his girlfriend, I guess, was at work, so I didn't get to meet her yet. Da ba da ba da. Good morning, Joydy, who says, "Hi, Russ and chat." So we have quite the crew going on here. And like I said, I've been just a little crazy with the week. This morning I had to get up because it is Saturday Sampler Saturday. So I got up, I went to the donut shop, and I was like, I should buy donuts for my new neighbors. And then I was like, I don't know what time they're planning on getting up because they still got a U-Haul to unpack and everything else. So I'm like, I don't want them just sitting around and getting stale. So I didn't. And then, by the time I got home, I was like, I probably should have because it's like 10 o'clock. If you're not up by 10 o'clock and me knocking on your door, that's a problem. So they could have had donuts. They didn't. Maybe I will bring them donuts like tomorrow or something. I think the donut shop is open tomorrow. I don't know. So yeah, hopefully they can get their stuff unpacked and they can figure out, what stuff they need, don't need in that. But yeah, excited to have new neighbors, even if it is for 17 months, which is a weird number of months. But again, I didn't make the rules. So today we are working on a different Villa Rosa pattern from last week. This one is called Heartbeat. This is another one of the patterns that my sister has asked me to do. And I said, sure, why not, as long as you buy everything. Hoping that might have actually said her no, but she's like, okay, fine, I'll buy everything. So I'm like, okay, good. Gives me some easy content. Except for that pattern. But we won't go there right now. This is a very easy pattern. It is a 6x6 that gets us, well, the shape of a heart. And I did all my cutting yesterday. Cutting was the easy part because everything is cut to the exact same size. Then it had you make a handful of half square triangles. And that one was an interesting way because, there's multiple ways that you can make half square triangles. You can do both corners of the diagonal. You can do all the way around to get a certain size. This one had you to, so on the diagonal, which gives you a little bit of ways people make that extra half square triangle into something else. But what I did is I cut a couple pieces just slightly larger than the pattern asked for. So I can use triangulations to make a perfect size half square triangle. or pair of perfect size half square triangles actually. And doing it that way meant slightly less cutting, but more cutting, blah, blah, blah. I got it working. So I laid everything out last night, and now I have this pile of all the fabrics that were laid out so I can put it all together. The way that I make this pile, for anybody who is asking, and I'm going to be poorly describing this, I really need to get this recorded one day. I lay it out on my design bed because that's an easy way for me to throw things down. If you have a design wall that you can pick things off of, you can do that too. And once I have it laid out exactly how I want it, I will go in and start from the right-hand side, and I will just pile up from the far to the front into one pile. And I do that for everything except for the first two columns. And then I will take those and stack them on top of each other left to right. So everything starts on the left, and then is going to be built to the right. And when I get them stacked up, I take the very first two columns, I put them on top of each other, and then bring the stack down and put that on top of everything else. So everything that is in this pile that I have right here is in the exact order that I want it, which, like I said, one day I will get a video of how I do this, because I know that there's a lot of people like, how do you do that? Because it's a little crazy. Seems like witchcraft. And it can be. But once you get it there, you can do this with any size quilt that you want. I do this with the graduation quilts, which are 56 blocks in total. I've done this with Saturday samplers. I've done this with smaller quilts. So it just makes it very easy. And it keeps me having to run back and forth from my sewing machine to the design area. And once you get this in your head working, you don't have to, it saves that little bit of time. Let's see who else has shown up. Colleen says hello everyone. Duvraka's here, says good morning Russ and everyone. My friend Stephanie is here, says good morning Russ and everyone. So now that I have my pile, and I don't have a full bobbin, so I'm going to probably have to be changing things in the middle. Also, the other thing that I did is I put a binding clip so I know which side is the right hand side, because the moment that because there's triangles in here, the moment something gets laid sideways, it's gonna be a problem. So I'd rather not. So I want to make sure to figure this out. Candace is like, yeah, we need the method to my madness. It's a lot of madness. So I'm going to lay these off to the side, and I'm going to grab the first two. Everything is exactly the same size as everything else, so there's no thinking about that. Which quilt was it? The mazed quilt last week. I had the blocks laid out, and then I just laid them on the bed and just pulled them all off like this. I'm also backstitching at the top and bottom, as long as I remember, because it just makes sure that everything stays in place. There is going to be a border, so it's not as critical if I forget to backstitch, but it's a lot nicer if I do backstitch. And I'm just doing my standard chain piecing. And I guess the other important thing is make sure that as you're pulling things off your pile, you always keep the correct right-hand side. Because if you get the wrong right-hand side, that's the left-hand side. And because there's 36 squares, that means this is a 6x6 center. And for people asking what fabric line this is, it's not a fabric line. My sister, while she was here visiting, she said, okay, tell me what I need to search for fabric at the quilt shops, and she will pick out whatever she wants. So for the mazed pattern, she picked out Nantucket Summer all on her own. I didn't even hint her on that one. And then for this pattern, she just was looking through and saying, okay, I like this, I like this, I like this. So she just picked these fabrics on her own. And I think she did a very awesome job at picking these fabrics because they are gorgeous and they go well together. So I'm very, very excited about this. And then what I do once I've gotten the first column done, and I know the first column is done because the first column was done folded, placed on top of each other, right sides together. Everything else is right side up. All I have to do is just say, I'm going to finger press, grab the next one off the top of the pile, and put it face down on top of the block. And when you run out of fabric, or when you run out of columns, that means you're going to the next fabric or next row. So you don't have to really think. And I'm going to trim that before I get down that far. And I'm going to finger press opposite directions. And that's just going to help make sure when I put the rows together that they nest really nicely. She did a mixture of cottons and batiks. And as she was picking them, I'm like, some people think it's not exactly kosher to mix cotton and batiks. But I think it'll work pretty good because I've done mixtures of cottons and batiks before. They're not always easy, but once you get enough washes in there, everything seems to settle down. Okay, that one went that way, so this one goes this way. And the nice thing with batiks is finger pressing them is gorgeous. It's almost like you don't need heat or magic juice. Okay, that one went that way, so this one's going to go this way. she chose this yellow as the accent fabric, and I'm going to be honest, when I first was looking at everything, I was like, oh yeah, that's going to be fine. And then when I started cutting, I was like, is this going to work? Because it's a yellow accent and basically a sea of pinks and reds. And then when I got the quilt laid out, I was like, oh yeah, it works beautifully. And I'm out of rows, so that means I'm going to the next row. Row, column, whatever direction we're talking. And I did press the couple that are going to line up together. I did press those half square triangles in opposite directions just so that they would nest. So there's just 2 seams that I had to plan. Let's see, this one's going that way, so this one goes this way. So how was everybody's week? Did we get anything exciting accomplished? Anything special happen? I know I saw my friend John from Guys Craft 2. He did his holiday quilting bee on Tuesday. I was at work, so I could not participate with it. But I did listen for his whole live and tried to participate when I could. And my friend David was going to try to come visit this weekend and everything, but he couldn't get a meeting moved or something, whatever his whole excuse was. That's that way, so this is this way. And with having my sewing shenanigans last weekend, it was very nice to be able to get some extra work done. Carl's birthday was on Tuesday. Also, happy birthday, Carl. I forgot your birthday was Tuesday. It was also a Polish holiday, which was nice to have a little bit of quietness that day in the office, which meant I had no issues really watching the lives that were going on. Or I'm sorry, listening to. I was not watching as much as I wanted to. That's what I like about some of the events that we do have is they are, as long as they're not a tutorial, You don't have to actually watch with your eyes. You can listen with your ears. And that's what I like about some of the vlogs that we have and some of the other stuff. Or if they're sewing along, sometimes I'll take a peek to see what's happening, but you watch one seam be sewn, you can see any seam being sewn. Carl asks if I saw the box opening with John, or from John. Yes, I did, and that was gorgeous. Carl had, or John had purchased a featherweight, and Carl painted it for him. This gorgeous purple. And it looks awesome. Kind of jealous of him, but yeah, no. I don't have room for another machine right now, so I don't think I need anything right now. Even though, I know it's not all about need, it's want. And I just realized I'd been forgetting to do my back stitch on start and stop, so I'm just going to let it go. The back stitch on start stop is only really critical on outside edges, in my opinion. Colleen said she sent 2 quilts off to her long armor, and she's getting ready for an in-person session with Art East this afternoon. Ooh, you get to go have in-person with the folks at Art East. I'm kind of jealous. Tell John I said hi. I do kind of need to go hunt through the Art East archives because I purchased the bear pattern. And he recolored stuff with Tula Pink, Gray Works for the bear, and I'm like, I kind of want that. But I figured, since I already have the pattern, I can support my local quilt shop and purchase the Gray Works fabrics here. Save a little bit on the Canadian shipping and everything else. So I need to go figure out what the fabric requirements are for each color of gray work. And it's just really looking at the photo of the bear in gray work and lining it up with the pattern to know how much of each fabric I need. Stephanie says she hopes Colleen has fun and wishes that she could be there because love John and all his stuff. Yes, I love his stuff too. I wish I could be there as well. My sister's husband has family up in Nova Scotia near Sydney. And I'm like, I wonder if I could hitchhike with them up there. Stow away. Just to go see John. I did tell my sister if she goes back up there, she needs to bring John cookies. Okay, when she goes back up there, she needs to bring John cookies. Stephanie says she's cutting the fabric for the bear now, but not in Tula. Ooh. And Colleen says she was able to order a gallon of Joy Juice, which we'll be able to pick up today. And she'll send our regards. Awesome. For anybody wondering what Colleen calls Joy Juice, Stephanie calls Magic Juice, and it's the Acorn Easy Pressing Pen and Solution. At least I'm assuming that's what Colleen is meaning by Joy Juice. And it's just basically a starch alternative that you put just on your seams, and you will get very, very flat seams. It comes in a, like, this is a individual option. This pen is a highlighter type pen, so it's got a nub on there, and you fill it up with the solution, and you just, almost like you're highlighting the seam, and then you press with your iron afterwards. And it gets things very, very flat. It is especially useful for people like me who don't like to pre-starch. And Candace is saying my mic is breaking up something. What do you mean my mic? This is a good mic and it's really awesome. Okay, Mike, what are you doing? Look, Mike, we are not breaking up. I wonder if it's the angle that I'm looking at, because it is kind of directional, and I'm trying to keep the sewing machine sound out of it. Stephanie's hearing me just fine, so maybe Candace just, maybe your internet connection is going funny, because Carl's just saying that I'm fine. No. To go with that joke, I like the whole comment that apparently, I have a nice butt, because as people walk by me and stuff, they kind of turn and go, "What an ass." Yvette said she got out and came back in and it cleared up. Okay. I know sometimes YouTube does some funkiness, and I think it does funkiness with other channels, because I will listen to some channels and it's either really soft or I only get volume out of one ear. And I made comments to those creators and like, "Oh, it sounds fine to me." And I'm like, okay, I have no idea why. And I only get to test some of the stuff when I'm at work, because, if I'm home, it's either a TV that it's on or the computer, which has speakers. So that, but when I'm at work, I can only listen through headphones. And that's when I'm like, okay, there's that. And I spend enough time with my coworkers to complain that they don't have their microphone set up to their ear, to their mouth while they're on Zoom. So I'm like, I'm just not going to make too many comments to my creator friends unless it is very bad and distracting. I also understand that, none of us are professionals. So mistakes can happen. And we just try our best with our videos. Because I know everybody likes to yell at our friend Steven when he forgets to turn on the volume of his microphone. Which I've done a couple times too, so it's human. I've even recorded videos completely muted. You know how embarrassing that is when you get through a 35-minute video and be like, I got to go and say everything that I just said again. And you know the second time's never as good as the first. And, oh, look at this. We are at the last piece. And I always put a clip on the right-hand side of the last piece. That way I still have something that still says what's on the right-hand side. In case something decides to shift. Candace came back and it sounds better. Good. Okay, and then I'm going to finger press these. This one's going to go this way. This one's going to go this way. This one will go this way. This way and this way. And because I didn't cut, I have an entire web of a heart. And then what I like to do when I get to this point, so I don't have to go back to my design anything. Everything is in the place it's supposed to be. I will clip up at the top because that's the easiest way to keep it square. And then I'm sewing the first two columns together. Maybe they're the first two rows. And once I get it started, I will trim each intersection. That's optional. I finger pressed everything so that everything should twist for the seams. So because I did that, I want to trim the intersections. But if you pressed everything one direction, then the other direction, then the first direction, trimming the threads in your intersections is optional. I don't need this clip anymore, and I can grab this off. Because once it's optional, it makes it just a couple seconds faster for you. And because these are small blocks, they are easy peasy to line up. That one. So today we got the reveal of next year's Saturday sampler. And it's gorgeous. They're giving us 3 colorways. One was called Navy. One was called Holiday, which is kind of Christmassy colors. And then one is called Pink, which is pink colors. And they gave us pictures, or they showed us pictures of the finished quilts. And I was kind of I keep my Saturday sampler on just because I like to know what's going on with the quilt shop, and paying their Saturday sampler fee at the beginning and making my blocks keeps me going with the program, so I don't have to question, am I going to go or not going to go? And then I always know that what I'm going to be signing up for. But they are gorgeous. I can't do screen sharing because I forgot to set up that new scene since my installation broke however many months ago. But I will share a sneak peek of it during my vlog this week, just because I know it'll be fun. I have found a pattern, so hopefully I will be able to, share it with some folks if folks want to join in, because I love the Saturday samplers or the programs and stuff that I can join in with other folks in the group. Stephanie's asking me which colorway am I choosing. I signed up for Navy, mostly because I like quilts that I can keep out and about all year round. I don't want something that is just specifically for Christmas or the holiday season. And I don't want something that is specifically overly pink. Although I could probably gift the pink one to a couple friends that I know who have been impacted with the October pink. I try not to say certain keywords because I don't want my video flagged. And it's usually flagged because they'll say, well, this video talked about this and we don't da 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 da. And I'm like, I'm not talking about it. I just know people who have been impacted by it, and it sucks. This does start to get a little messy if you're not accustomed to the web piecing. You just got to be careful and keep it laid out and kind of straight. What I usually do, like with the graduation quilts, which have, like I said, 56 blocks in it, is I will break it out into 28 block sections. So I will sew the top half together like this, and then I will sew the bottom half together like this, and then I will sew the top half to the bottom half. And the only reason why I do this, like I said, is to keep me from having to get up and down, back and forth to my design, and I call it my design bed because I don't have a full wall space yet for design wall. Once I can get that section organized, I'm thinking about putting some design wall pieces up. So I would have a design wall, but that requires me to get some stuff organized, and it's still off camera design wall. So I still wouldn't want to be getting up and down to my design wall while I'm working on a project with y'all. I finger pressed this one in the wrong direction. Oops. That means every single one below it is pressed the wrong direction. And my buddy John with Guys Craft 2 has made several comments about me and bobbin chicken. I think I did pretty good. I got to the end of a seam and had, what was that, 8 inches left. Okay. So I'm lining up the top again. Put my clip on, which I think I left on the other end. And I've been flipping the quilt top every seam so that I'm going up, then down, then up, then down. That is supposed to help keep your seams straighter, because if you have any tendency to lean to the right, lean to the left, as if you haven't had your V8 yet, if you're constantly switching your sides, your directions, then your natural lean is going to even out. I try not to lean, but I'm sure it happens. So I will just, do it this way, and that kind of settles it out. It's more noticeable with things like if you're doing a jelly roll race, that if all of your seams are going the same direction, then you're gonna potentially see a little bit of a lean. I'm just going to trim the rest of these apart, because once you get it started, it doesn't matter, because you're not going to get everything out of order. And after I get these blocks together, the pattern has two borders. It has an inner border and an outer border. And the really awesome thing about both the borders is they have cornerstones, which makes them a little bit easier to cut because all four of your longer pieces are going to be the exact same size. Assuming you keep your quilt fairly square. So I have the measurements, and when I'm done with this, I can just go cut the borders, line them up, and this one will be done. And for the mazed quilt, I bought fabric for a border because I was like, it kind of needs one. And I went on Wednesday, and the lady at the shop, I don't think I've met yet. So she was looking at me like, how do you know what you're doing? And I mean, I just went with, oh, I know exactly what I'm looking for. Because she's like, you're looking for a border, but you don't have a project. I'm like, yep. So it's because I knew exactly which fabric I was looking for. Good morning, John from Guys Craft 2. I was talking about you literally like 5 minutes ago. Because, well, I won Bob and Chicken again. And I won live on camera. Good morning, Ingrid. How are you this morning? So now, this one is the next seam. This one's got a little bit of stuff going on with it, so I'm going to start by just putting a clip in that seam and do my standard clip at the top to help keep the top square. Yeah, we're back to the top. I was like, is this the top or the bottom? Candace says, why do they think we need a project for the fabric we buy? I mean, I agree with that. But I specifically said I'm looking for a border fabric. And I went straight to Nantucket Summer and grabbed exactly the SKU that I was looking for. And I think that just kind of startled her because I don't want to sound, genderist, but a random guy going into a shop that they haven't met. We know the stereotypes with guys in shops. It sucks. It's stupid, but it still exists sometimes. But once she understood that I knew what I was talking about, what I was doing, and everything else, then she was fine. And that's usually the reception that I get when I go into shops is, at first they're like, what are you doing here? Are you looking for something? Which I understand why that happens. Not thrilled with it happening, but I understand why. Because it's a woman-dominated activity. But like I said, most shops that I've been into, once they figure out that I'm not just somebody sent me here to find something specific, it's like when you send somebody to the grocery store for something specific and you're like, I don't know where it is in this grocery store. Yeah, that's what I think that they were thinking was happening with me at first. But like I said, I went on the mission, grabbed what I needed, and tried to keep the blinders on and not buy anything else, but I did. And in my defense, I needed that pattern anyway. When my cousin and sister were here, my cousin found a pattern. She asked me if I think she can do it, and I obviously said yes, because I still have confidence in her even though I don't know her skills. And it's a pumpkin pattern to make fabric pumpkins. And if you remember, almost just over a month ago, I had shown them in my weekly vlog, and they came out really awesome. So I was like, I need this pattern because I'm going to want to make more. So bought the pattern. And y'all, I think we're going to get this quilt center done before I go off the live. John says Barney is loving his new home to Carl. Oh yeah, that's what you named the little guy, Barney. I've been watching a lot of shorts of How I Met Your Mother, so Barney Stinson is the one that comes to mind first. And I'm like, your new machine is a womanizer? I need to rewatch that show. That was a really good show. Except the last season that made me cry too much. And we have the last seam. And I will need to press it, but I can do that again off camera. And show a final picture in my weekly vlog, whether it has borders or not. Because, you know, borders are low priority right now. And I just realized I did the entire quilt without telling people, you know, you can use pins if you wanted to. I just find these blocks are small enough that I can just line them up one at a time and get decent results. Good morning, Kathy says, hi, Russ, and all watching. Just finished the layout of her bee quilt and came to see what I'm up to. Well, Kathy, I'm up to no good. I mean, I'm working on the heartbeat quilt for one of the quilts my sister is commissioning me for. This is the last seam of the center, so I'm not going to pause and show off the pattern because I will be able to pause and show off the center of the quilt top in a moment. This is the last to snip. Stephanie says, bee quilt. I bet that's cute. It does sound really cute because, you know, bees are cute. Week and change ago at the pizza station at work, they had a pizza that had pepperoni, banana peppers, and our worker bee honey, which I was like, we're doing slave labor basically. Because I think a year ago or so they had an event. Our CFO has a hobby of beekeeping. So at least in our office, I don't know if he's done it in other, or if they've done it in other offices, but we have beehives, which we haven't had a chance to go see. But they are at the top of one of the parking decks. And we keep saying we need to go see the bees. We need to go see the bees. But we keep forgetting. And yeah, I guess they harvested some honey and used that on the pizza, which I didn't think the pizza really needed honey, but it was still good. I'm sure if it was my sister eating it, she'd be like, this needs hot honey, because I guess hot honey is the new big thing. Kathy says she loves the colors. Are they batiks? It is a mixture of batiks and cottons. Most of the fabrics are batiks. The accent, there's one of the main body fabrics that is not a batik. And the accent fabric is not a batik, and the background is not a batik. But everything else is a batik. And my sister picked them all out, so it's not a specific fabric line. It is not anything that's easily repeatable. I'm just making sure I didn't make any mistakes before I try to show it off. And from the back, it looks fine. So here's the quilt. It is a big giant heart. So hopefully I will be able to get this pressed. I've got the inner border cut. I don't have the outer border cut because the inner border is with the background fabric. And then that will get placed on the pile to be long-armed, which is constantly growing because long arms. So yeah, I got the entire center of the quilt top done by noon, which that did not surprise me. Carl went, what are pins? And Stephanie's like, exactly. Carl says nice, and Candace says great colors, Russ. I can't take credit for the colors. It's my sister's picking for the colors. Yvette says that's cute. Colleen says beautiful, just lovely. I'm a little, like I said, impressed that we got this done in an hour, but I've done similar projects with baby quilts, this same method, and got them pieced in an hour. So it didn't surprise me that it came together this quickly. And like I said, the cutting was super easy on this one. If you are interested in this pattern, there are links in the description box below. to both the digital and physical pattern, depending on which one you prefer with your Villa Rosa patterns. And yeah, I don't know what I'm working on next week yet because that's a whole week away. Dana says, I hope your sister appreciates my love for her. Yes, it's and the thing is, she's gifting these, so she's commissioning me to make them for gifts, not for this year. Probably next Christmas. I think I'll have them done because there's 5 quilts. I've got 2 of the centers done. Kathy says she loves the yellow one there. The yellow is what I was concerned about when I was cutting. When I had it visualized when we were putting the fabrics together, I was like, it didn't click to me that the yellow was going to go in with the heart. But when I was putting it together, I'm like, I have questions. And after I got it put together, I was like, okay, I no longer have questions when I got it laid out because it works gorgeously. And the yellow is what's going to be the cornerstones in the borders, the inner and outer borders. So that's going to just tie it in together. So yeah, I am going to try to start figuring out what I'm working on next week for my live because I have not thought that far ahead and I don't want to be cutting the night before. And then, yeah, figure out how I'm going to get this weekend done because I've got a lot of stuff I want to get done. Hope you guys have an awesome weekend. Say all the love you can to everybody that's live throughout the entire weekend. And make sure you enjoy it, especially if your weather is still kind of nice like it is here because we had a couple cold days and then it's warmed back up. So